Hey guys, Doug Darbro. This is Math 6610. What I wanted to do, kind of in response to teaching this the class before, I haven't taught it that many times, but I've taught it. I guess I would say that this is the fourth time I've taught a quantitative methods class to graduate students. I taught a few years ago. I taught a class very similar to this to students who were working on their doctorates in nursing research at Case Western. It turned out at that particular time there were quite a few students, nursing faculty, I should say, at Moorhead, Ashland Community College, and Shawnee State, who were working on their what's called DNR, the Doctorate in Nursing Research. And instead of them having to cart up and go to Case Western, they asked if I would teach a class down here. I also taught at University of Kentucky, and in the summer, of course, I taught it here at Shawnee. And regardless, my point of all this is, regardless where it's been taught, questions like this on your first assignment, I almost always get, well, what do you want? I'm looking at this question. I really don't know what you want. So what I thought I would do, I thought I'd put up a short video. I'd say this video is going to be 5 minutes at most. And I want to talk about two things. First of all, I want to talk about what I want on this assignment. And secondly, I want to talk about what you can expect over the next couple of days. I'm sorry, the next couple of weeks. Now, first of all, pay attention to the due date. It's due September 22nd, which is a Monday, at 8 a.m. This probably means that most of you will submit it to me by Sunday evening. But all I need is the email to be sent before 8 a.m. on Monday, September 22nd. What I prefer that you do is I prefer that you scan your write-up. As always, I want your write-up to be thorough. I want it to be clear. I want it to be concise. And so write it up. You could even type it up, but that would take a while. But anyway, send me your write-up as a scanned attachment and have the email dated earlier than September 22nd at 8 a.m. All right, gang, on number one, what do I want there? The first thing I'm going to tell you is I'm not going to tell you in these instructions what statistical test to use except for one problem. So that's kind of part of when I grade your assignments. That'll be one of the main things that I'll look at. I think it's one of the most important things I try to teach you in this class is to look at a researcher's goals and interests and look at the data that's been collected, and you determine what type of statistical technique should be implemented. So it's kind of weird to say this, but if you're going to lose big points on a question, it would be where you've implemented some sort of test that's not appropriate. So, guys, on number one, figure out the test that you need to implement. It should be obvious. And when writing up your results on one, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you on number two as well. Here's the things that I want. The very first thing I want is the very first sentence will be, well, I conducted repeated measures ANOVA. You're not going to do that because we haven't studied that yet, but that's just an example. So the first sentence, you tell me the test that you conducted. The second thing, the second sentence, and this could even be a couple or three sentences, but anyway, the second part will be the assumptions. Every test that we conduct, there are certain assumptions on conducting the test. As we should know by now, if you're conducting an ANOVA, we need independence, homogeneity of variance, and we need normality. Independence is actually something I think that you address through the design of the experiment, the design of your study. But independence and normality and homogeneity of variance, I've shown you statistical methods for testing those. So the second part you're going to do is you're going to look at the assumptions of the model, and you're going to tell me how you tested that, and you're going to give me the results. The third thing that I want you to give me is a sentence or two giving me the results of the inference. And this is where you'll use the test statistic the degrees of freedom, the test used, the p-value, and you'll tell me whether you got statistical significance or not. In some situations, you'll also include the 95% confidence interval. You'll definitely, in the final part, include the effect size and the power. Now, more broadly speaking, at the point of the 95% confidence interval, you may, for example, if you're conducting an ANOVA or two-way ANOVA, you may talk about a post-hoc analysis. And in the post-hoc, that's where your 95% confidence intervals and additional p-values would be presented. So the instructions for problem number 1 and problem number 2 are pretty much the same. So just follow that outline. Guys, problem number 3 is going to require you to download GPower. I use GPower 3.1. There may be a newer version, but I haven't checked. 3.1 works fine. So the very first thing, once you get GPower down, you got to choose your appropriate test statistic. And you should know by now that ANOVA uses F statistic. F as in Frank. And then you'll come over and choose the appropriate ANOVA for what you want. Now once you get that, then you've got some options down at the bottom. And I think I presented that pretty well. I think I presented it very well in the videos where we talked about post-hoc power and effect size. So guys, use GPower. This is a problem that I would think easily, if once you get GPower downloaded, number 3 shouldn't take you much more than 3 or 4 minutes to get through that. Number 4 and number 5 are the more challenging questions, and let me tell you what to put on your radar here. Most students who miss this problem do so because they put their data in R incorrectly. I pointed out in one of the earlier videos that you must code your data. I think I called it cleansing your data. I'm involved in a couple of studies right now, one at SOMC and another with the occupational therapy department here at Shawnee. And the pain in the butt on both of those is cleansing the data. How do we handle missing data, which isn't a situation for you in these problems. But anyway, to get this presented correctly, you have to get your data entered incorrectly. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. When you look at a blank spreadsheet in Excel, which you ideally will convert into CSV format and then get it into R, as we've done many, many times, you have to remember that that data set has to be coded correctly. And on the horizontal, on the rows, that's where the subject information lies. And on the vertical, or the columns, that's where our variables lie. So guys, in problem number 5, I told you there was one question that I would tell you what kind of test you're going to use. Well, number 5, you're going to use a two-way ANOVA. And that should be pretty clear because you have a quantitative measurement, which are the number of correct responses on the exam score, as presented over gender and instructor. Now, when you code this data, you have to keep in mind that you have, I don't know, what 6, 8, 10, 16, 18, you have 21 subjects. So you're essentially going to have 22 lines because your top line will be your variables. And then on your columns, you're going to have 3 variables. Exam score, I would probably just call that exam, gender, and instructor. So guys, make sure you get this in correctly. I had a student this summer who, just as you guys will end up doing, you'll do a final project. He did his, and he just lost his mind on coding his data, and it just turned out to be a complete nightmare for him and for me. So guys, that's it on the assignment. Only 5 questions, but this is going to, by the time you run your analysis and get your data set up, this is going to take some time. To allow for more time, there's only going to be 2 videos put up next week, and I'll probably my intent is to go ahead and prepare those today and try to get those uploaded. So pretty soon, probably by Thursday, you'll see that I've already gone up for week 5 and put a couple of videos up. One's going to be really short. It just shows you that how the general linear model is really kind of connecting what we do in certain techniques. And the other will be a complete illustration, a very thorough illustration of how we conduct a two-way ANOVA, which will be obviously very helpful as you work through problem number 5. So guys, that's about it. And you know, once assignments start popping up, that's when it seems that students start contacting me more. Remember, I've got an open door policy when it comes to contacting me. Call me anytime, and as long as it's at a reasonable time, or if, you know, I'm not teaching or involved in something, I'll definitely take your call. Something else that we're doing these Google Hangout sessions, and 3 times a week I'm going to be available for 1 hour on the Google Hangout sessions. The hard part is trying to accommodate everyone's schedule, so I'm still trying to come up with times that work for that. So as soon as I get that scheduled, I'll send you guys an email or include it in a video and tell you how to do that. So guys, I hope it's going well. Class has been really easy so far. It doesn't get, well, it does get a little tougher. In fact, it gets quite a bit tougher when we get into some of the techniques. But I guess that's all I wanted to cover. So guys, have a good one.